Of the mm720. It's a fucking weird ass mouse. The shape is really something. uh, where do I even fucking begin with this thing? Well, let's start with the bad parts of this mouse. The build quality is complete and utter shit, like the majority of Cooler Master products I've used. Um, it creaks to shit if you squeeze the sides, like with any real amount of force. Even if it's like a very normal amount of grip force you'd be using like in like a tense situation in game, you still get a fuck ton of creaking, and it's really annoying and it's really stupid. Side buttons, the position is pretty bad for how I grip. They're also really big, and if I'm in game, I can like accidentally press them if I move my thumb a tiny bit. Uh, the weight's really good. It's 42 grams. It's insanely light, but with the pretty mediocre cable that comes with the mouse, it's kind of difficult because you feel the weight of the cable more than you actually feel the weight of the mouse, meaning, you know, you can have shit where, like, the cable is moving the mouse rather than your hand, and it's really cringe, and it's really fucking stupid. But, yeah, those are the bad parts of this mouse. Good parts are sensor, which, well, is average. It's not especially a good thing about this mouse. Actually, I forgot one bad thing. The clicks feel pretty fucking shit. They're not that bad, but they're not, like, top tier like the Orochi, and they're not, like, as good as the G Pro Wireless, so, like, they're mid, I guess. Now let's talk about the only positive, not the only positive, but the most positive thing about this mouse is the fucking insane ass shape. This thing is really short. Like, here's the Orochi for comparison. Look at these two things side by side. The Orochi is a tiny fucking mouse. This thing is somehow even shorter. It's a lot wider though. So if you have small hands and you palm grip, this is a really good mouse. Palm grip is not something I do. Granted, it's not like it's impossibly good with palm grip. I know someone who has almost better aim than I do by exclusively palm gripping mice, and don't know how the fuck he does it, but he somehow does. But yeah, the shape is weird. I personally don't like it that much. However, that is because I fingertip. I feel like I don't have any stability with like my pinky, and that's because there isn't really like a good place for your pinky to rest if you fingertip. But if you like do a carpal-stabilized claw, where you have like this part of your hand touching the mouse, and the tips of your fingers touching the mouse, this is a really good shape. It feels super secure in my hand. Actually, the person who lent me this mouse, he is a 4500 Overwatch player. And his aim is fucking insane. He swears by this thing, and says that the shape is just completely beyond anything else he can really use. And honestly, I think that's the case with some people and this mouse. Because the shape is really unique. It's really, what's the word? Niche. If you like the shape, you are really going to like the shape. If you don't like it, you're going to think everyone who uses this mouse is completely fucking dented. You're going to think everyone who uses this mouse is a complete cave person who doesn't know how to tell a good mouse from a bad mouse. But this thing isn't objectively a good or bad mouse. It is, if you like the shape, fucking use this thing. I personally don't like the shape all that much because my grip style just does not work super well with it. Like, yes, I can fingertip, but it doesn't feel as secure in my hand as something like the Orochi. And it feels super fucking flimsy in comparison to something like the Orochi as well. Honestly, from like an objective standpoint, this mouse is like a 7 out of 10. But if the shape is something that works for you, you should really give it a shot. If you like a really aggressive ergo mouse, try this. Like, there have been some people that have said it's impossible to aim really well with this mouse, and I think anyone who says that is just a complete moron who doesn't know how preference works. Like, yes, I don't have like fucking 20 years of experience in Quake or whatever the fuck, but I'm actually a decent player at the end of the day. And same with the person who actually lent me this mouse. So, let me now show some footage of me playing Kovacs, just so you guys get an idea of what this thing looks like in the wrong hands, because, well, this thing doesn't really work as well for me as it does for some other people. Honestly, now that I'm using the shape for a little bit, it's kind of growing on me. Like, My aim is not very good with this mouse as of this millisecond, but I feel like if I were to put like a good couple of hours into using this thing, my aim would be really good with it. Granted, the really low weight could be why. The shape does actually feel a lot better now that I'm actually trying it out, like, in reality. Because if you just grip this thing once, you're going to think, okay, this shape is stupid. But in reality, shape is really not stupid. Like, I can aggressively fingertip this thing and still think it feels really, really good. Granted, my aim is not superb with this thing compared to other mice I own. Because I'm just not used to the shape at all. But yeah, I totally see how, like, a really high-tier aimer could use this thing. My review of the mm720, overall it's like a 6.5 out of 10, but that's my objective rating. If you are, like, into super niche, super weird mouse shapes, this is something I highly recommend, because, yes, it feels a little bit weird to start out with, but I think the skill ceiling of this thing is a lot higher than people assume, because it's really comfortable. It feels like I don't have as good of a range of motion with this thing as I do with the Orochi, but it still feels quite comfortable to grip after I put like a tiny bit of time into it. But something that I just think is insane is that some people say it's impossible to get good with this mouse, and that's just incorrect. Like, the person who lent me this mouse was literally fucking top 30 North America in Overwatch on his role, and he plays a very, very aim-intensive fucking role, so I don't know. I don't know how he really was able to get as good as he is using a mouse that's quote-unquote not viable for high-tier aiming, at least according to certain people with 20 years of experience in Quake. But whatever, dude. My bad. But yeah, this is actually a pretty decent mouse. It's fun. It's weird. I do not recommend it for the vast majority of people because of the shit build quality. But if you're willing to put up with that, and you like weird shapes, this is something that I actually think you should really give a shot.